Good morning. Good morning. I tell you, I had a good weekend. How about you? It was quiet. Um, sometimes it was kind of surreal. I got a lot of work done. I got rid of some of the clutter. Now I didn't tell you I was done, but I have this thing about trying to declutter and get rid of, but I set some stuff aside to give away again, and I have my throwaway, which is out there at the street right now, and then I have my keep, and I'm trying to rearrange closets, and oh my goodness, so my house looks a mess, but I'm in the middle of transition. And sometimes transition, you have to find what? You got to find some faith that you're going to get through whatever is going on. That is today's topic, faith. Faith in something you haven't done before, something you haven't seen before, something you can only acknowledge by thought and heart, but you can't, it's not tangible sometimes. Sometimes you have faith in others, it's just faith. And sometimes our faith has to be anchored where? In the Lord. You know, it's just the way it is. It's the way it is. So I'm hoping that not only that you came in to stay a little while, but that you'll take some notes and then pass this on and share it to some other people who may need to know that we're working on faith this morning. Faith, faith, faith. I'm going to ask you the question. I'll ask it again too, but are you stuck? Yes, we all get stuck. We get stuck with a lot of things for a lot of reasons. We think we're going to outrun our being stuck, or smart our being stuck, or outlast our being stuck. And sometimes stuck stays around a while, But I always say stuck is temporary. It's temporary. It's something that will come. And it may be a little while here, but eventually it's going to go. It's definitely going to go. And so I was thinking about, my own faith, and I am a God-fearing woman. I'm always trying to say I do the right thing, but I don't, because I am human. I'm a fleshy, like everybody else. So things that may not make other people mad may make me mad or hurt me, and other people, they could say something to you and they didn't know what it did to you. And so sometimes, your faith is that you would always be able to say the right thing, and that it could be heard by somebody and interpreted as being well-meaning. But anyway, I have a poem for you today, and today I have another treat. At the end, if the Lord says so, I'm going to sing at the end. But we're going to start with this poem. It's also by Emily Dickinson. It says, "Faith is a fine invention when gentlemen can see, but microscopes are prudent in an emergency." I like that. It just says that sometimes nobody can see it. Only a microscope is so tiny, But even the Bible says a mustard seed, So sometimes we don't know where our faith comes from, but it's given to us, and we believe it. We believe that it has some good for us. So that one's by Emily Dickinson. But this one is by Carissa K. Shuck, and it's a Let Go. And it was published in 2018, and I found it on the internet. And it says, "Let go. Let go," he says, "let go. But my heart is stubborn, so I do not let go. But what if it hurts, I say. I know it will hurt," he says. "What if I fall?" I say louder. "I know you will fall," he says. "But what if I can't get up? What if I can't go on? What if my heart breaks into 1,000 pieces? It's all right. Just let go." "No, I can't let go. I want to, but I can't. Let go." "How? My heart will break. It is breaking already. So if it will break, let go." "I can't. It hurts. Don't you know, my child? If you fall, I will pick you up. If you can go on, I will carry you. If you can't go on, I will carry you. Don't you know, my child? Don't you know? It is when it breaks that I can make you whole again. It is when it breaks that I can pick you out of these broken pieces that you are hurt, that are hurting you. And when it breaks, that's when you can truly learn to love. You can rise again. You can rise again. Let go. I just read this yesterday and I thought it was absolutely awesome. It's an awesome acknowledgement, good morning, Maurice, of our faith. Of our faith. You know, we don't know that every time we go get in our car that we're even going to make it back home. It's our faith. We don't know that when, our child goes to school that they're not going to get hurt. It's our faith. We don't know that our parents are always going to be well. It's our faith. We have to live in our faith, because if we don't, we'd be dying often and always on sadness, on frustration, on hurt, on anger. So we have to learn to let go and let God. And so in this instance, this is not this training I do is not about God. It really isn't. So for those who think it isn't, it's one of the areas that you put faith in. You put faith in people. You put faith in projects that you're doing. You put faith in redoing your house, or buying a new house. You put faith. So faith comes in all different forms. But usually it's on something or someone, that you have this belief that it's going to be all right. That's what our faith has to do for us. It has to make us all right. It has to make us where we're comfortable in our skin and not so paranoid that we're fearful, And some of us from the pandemic has probably become fearful. Good morning, Joan. We've become fearful. We've become frustrated. We're anxious. We got cabin fever. Whatever's going on. Nonetheless, we have to have faith, because if we don't have faith, what do we have? If we always think that there's always going to be rioting in the streets, or there's going to be, unrest with the way people behave towards you, all those things can certainly give you the idea that things aren't going to be well. But you know what? This world has never been like that. It's always a period of what I would call valleyness, and then absolute peaks, where you're at the top, you're at the pinnacle, So you understand that's life. Life goes up and it goes down. It goes down, it goes up. And sometimes it may stay down a while. But guess what gets us out? Our faith, And sometimes it may be somebody handing you, their hand to pull you out. Handing you their ideas to help you along. Handing you their opportunity to say, hey, look, this is your opportunity too. And sometimes we have to have faith enough to believe that we're not being steered wrong. So that is faith. So those were the two poems. And then at the end, I'm going to try to do something else for you. But anyway, faith, it talks about it's complete trust. It's complete trust, and it's confidence in someone or something. You have confidence in fact that something that you've wanted for a long time becomes possible. You're working on it. You're working at it, and it says it also looks at, sometimes it's on the spiritual realm of faith, because sometimes it's things we can't even see. We can't see, our spiritual connection, but yet and still those of us who've been reared that way and believe it, then that's us. Okay. But for the others, even if it's just faith for wanting to complete something, wanting to gain something. Good morning, T. That is our faith. That's our faith. And so we have to let whatever's coming to us comes to us, but we have to also go towards it. The fact that, it's out there for me. It's over there for me. That's mine. That's what I need to work on. It could be in relationships. It could be a new job. It could be whatever, a project, could be finishing a career. All those things, you have to have faith. So it talks about it's your conviction. It's your credence. It's your optimism. It's your hope. It's your expectation. All those things talk about what faith is for us. And so we need to look at the positivity of faith. Faith is positive, Now, not to have faith means that, you, and I'm quite sure you've met people in your life like that, where it's doom and gloom all the time. There's never any happy median, you know. I want to be comfortable enough in my mind and in my skin and in my heart that what I hear doesn't shake me all the time to my core. But I have seen some things, that have shaken me to my core to say, oh my God, that can't be happening. But sometimes the illustrations of real life can certainly give you a big jolt. But life isn't like that on the regular. A lot of times that is to, not only does it get your attention, good morning, David, not only does it get your attention, but it really startles you into thinking a certain way, understanding a certain way, believing a certain thing. Because sometimes your eyes, are the view of what you need to believe going forward, that it can happen, or that it did happen. So that's confirmation. So you have to look at that. The other thing, what I do is I'm going to break the word down, to just let you know that there's other things that are connected to our faith. Faith is familiar. It's familiar. It says it's commonly or generally known as seen or well acquainted, meaning we understand what our faith is. We understand it. It's in us. It's in us. If we've set out to get a new car and our credit is bad, we have faith until we get to the dealership and they say, well, you need a little bit more help. You need somebody to actually help you out. You need a co-signer. Okay. But so that means you have half the faith. Okay. You have your own, and certainly you better have theirs if they're going to let you use their name. So there you go. So that's kind of thing basically, you're just looking for your faith. And you're understanding that you're familiar with the person, you're familiar with the project, or maybe you're not familiar with it yet, but you have faith to believe that you can not only get familiarize yourself with it, but be able to do it. That's faith. Sometimes we have to sit back on what we were given, our talents, our gifts, which I talk about in multiple intelligences, where I encourage you to really go back and do that. That really speaks to all you could bring to the table. Everything. You're not just looking out for the moment. You're looking out for the future. Because faith always has a future. It always is looking up. It's looking out. Good morning, OJ Nelson. It's always looking away. So you're looking at, my God, you're looking at other stuff. So the letter in faith is A. And A is for acquaint. It says acquaint, make someone aware of or familiar with something. Once again, if you have your own faith and people are talking to you, you can speak on your faith. I believe I'm going to get that doctorate. I believe I'm going to, land that job. I believe that's faith. That is your faith in something, and it looks, once again, it's future. But it's also confirmation that you're still on the path that you were given to stay there. And sometimes we don't always stay easily, Sometimes we're not standing solid, so we're easy to be swayed one way or another, or even pushed over. That's what happens when but it says when you're acquainted with something, it says it's an opportunity that you've been taught. It's a teachable thing. It's an enlightenment. Either you teaching somebody or somebody's teaching you. It's to fill people in on stuff. It says it's to be at home, meaning you're comfortable with your ability to talk about what you're acquainted with, what your belief is, what your faith is. And it says you're up to date and you're upbeat about it. You know what you want to do. Some of us don't always do that. We wait for others to tell us what we believe. And then we really don't believe it. It's just that we want to be a part of the group that may be more in number. And sometimes walking singly doesn't mean that you're alone. It may be alone in what you're believing. And it doesn't say that's wrong. It's just saying that may be what you want. And sometimes we do have to listen to what we want. There's probably many a person that has gone through life so long where the others wants, desires, needs were more important than theirs. And so they've lived a life of emptiness because they filled up other people's stuff. They stuffed their bags and their bag was empty. I don't want to be empty at the end of going towards the end of my life, because all of us, we're in the process of, but my faith is that it won't be tomorrow. That's my faith. Is that it won't be tomorrow, maybe not next week either. My faith is that every day I get up and it's another opportunity to speak to my faith, to address my faith, to and certainly to be requesting and talking to the one I give, and get my faith from. I put my faith in him and I want it back, and so that's what he does. So every day he gives me something to do with my faith. So I'm acquainted with it. The next letter in faith is I. And for this I use ideally. And I just like that word, ideally. It says preferably is also the same word. It says in an ideal world, it's the best, a way to be, the best possible way. I like that. Ideally, it works for me. It works for you. That's what you want. And it talks about it's by choice that it would be your ideal thing to do, see, believe, all that. That's in your faith. All things, being viewed, it says that it's a good thing. It's ideally just for you. It says it's rather than something else. It's a theoretical opportunity. It says it looks at theory, in theory, of theory, by your own theory of what you believe. That's your faith. And it says in principle, meaning it fits your paradigm. It works for you. On paper, meaning you can write it down and it doesn't change. In fact, sometimes writing down things, that's why I always encourage you to write. If you write down things, those things that you've written down will actually incite you or excite you to write something else. And before you know it, there's a book. There's some statements. There's a presentation. There's something's there. And it talks about it's basically that ideally brings you to a level of understanding your faith for yourself. You're not worried about anybody else. It's your faith. It's ideal for you, and it works for you. The next letter in faith is T. And good morning, Carla. And T talks about tactful. How tactful, and I always talk about tactful and tactfulness. You have, it says that you have the knack for saying the right thing to the right people at the right time. And, have you ever been in a crowd of people and there's agitation on both sides? And you're thinking to yourself, well, I wouldn't have said that. That just keeps the anger up. That keeps the level of frustration up. That keeps the argument going. And I know that you've met people that like to argue. Now, I like to debate. Now, I'll debate you a little bit. Except on religion, weight, and something else. Maybe my finances. You can debate on yours, but I'm not going to tell you what mine are. But anyway, those would be areas that I would look at, not debating on. But anyway, to be tactful, it really talks about to being appropriate, to being sensitive, to being respectful, to being caring, and being considerate, being delicate. Because sometimes, I've even possibly done this myself, and I don't do it anymore. When someone has lost somebody, that the first thing you say, well, they're in a better place. Not to them at that time. No. But sometimes you have to learn by doing. And, once you made that first statement, as they say, the horses are out the barn. So you got to bring it back around and say, well, I'm just saying that, the earth is made of such cruelty, and it's this, that, and the other thing. And even though they weren't ready to go, sometimes you just have to make amends. You have to be respectful. And it says you have to show caring if it's tactful. You have to be diplomatic, careful,